Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Well, we finally got to hear from Donald Trump's White House counsel, Pat Cipollone. On Friday, you might remember, he spoke to the January 6th committee behind closed doors for hours, met with them on Capitol Hill. And then at yesterday's hearing, the committee revealed several clips of his videotaped interview. We're going to play you some of that shortly. Now, Cipollone's testimony, as far as we can tell, conformed with the broader picture that we've now gathered from many, many witnesses. That Donald Trump was dead set on staying in office against the will of the American people by any means necessary. And Cipollone was among those in Trump's orbit who resisted those efforts in the final days of Trump's term in office. Now, to state the obvious, it's a very good thing that people like Pat Cipollone and Bill Barr and others around Donald Trump resisted his attempted coup. But part of the story they're telling about how the insurrection came to be is, I think, wildly misleading and actually, I have to say, kind of enraging. Committee Vice Chair Liz Cheney clearly feels the same way.
Now the argument seems to be that President Trump was manipulated by others outside the administration, that he was persuaded to ignore his closest advisors, and that he was incapable of telling right from wrong. The strategy is to blame people his advisors called, quote, the crazies, for what Donald Trump did. This, of course, is nonsense. President Trump is a 76-year-old man. He is not an impressionable child. Just like everyone else in our country, he is responsible for his own actions and his own choices.
Now, Liz Cheney said that for a reason. She recognized, I think, a common theme in the testimony from Trump insiders who have submitted to the lawful subpoenas of this committee. Many of them have clearly been attempting to salvage their own reputations and to kind of exonerate themselves from their complicity in the most severe frontal attack on American democracy since the Civil War. And they've been doing that by basically blaming the whole thing on a group of so-called, as she said, crazies. As Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien put it, there was Team Normal, including himself and people like Pat Cipollone and Attorney General Bill Barr. And then there was Team Not Normal, made up of people like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and Mike Flynn and the Overstock guy, the pro-coup forces. We heard the same derision from Pat Cipollone yesterday when he described the ragtag group of coup plotters who made their way into the White House for an unscheduled meeting in the residence in December of 2020.
I opened the door and I walked in. I saw General Flynn. I saw Sidney Powell sitting there. I was not happy to see the people who were in the Oval Office.
Explain why.
Well, again, I don't think they were providing. Well, first of all, the Overstock person, I've never knew who this guy was. Actually, the first thing I did, I walked in, I looked at him, and I said, "Who are you?" And he told me. I don't think any of these people were providing the president with good advice.
Cipollone was equally scornful about the pro-coup team's plan to have the federal government seize voting machines.
It's a terrible idea for the country. That's not how we do things in the United States. There's no legal authority to do that. And there is a way to contest elections, that happens all the time. But the idea that the federal government could come in and seize election machines, I don't understand why I would even have to tell you why that's a bad idea for the country. It's a terrible idea.
Cipollone also told the committee the group had no evidence to support their claims of fraud and basically did not believe in facts.
What response did you get when you asked Ms. Powell and her colleagues where's the...
A variety of responses based on my current recollection, including, can't believe you would say something like, things like this, like, what do you mean, where's the evidence? You should know, and things like that, or, a disregard, I would say, a general disregard for the importance of actually backing up what you say with facts.
Oh, really? A disregard for backing up things you say with facts? That was the point I almost threw something at the TV. Pat, buddy, bro, my man, do you know who you worked for? Do you realize who employed you? The guy, the boss, the big guy? Donald Trump. You work for Donald Trump. the most serial liar to ever occupy the Oval Office, the most pathological liar I've ever covered in 20 years of journalism. And the people assembled in that room with him on December 18th were there because he wanted to overturn American democracy and declare himself essentially president for life and keep himself in power. If you do not realize that, you are either stupid, disqualifyingly naive, or so incompetent you should never hold another job. My God. Because Donald Trump was not shy about the fact that he would never accept an election loss. He was quite public about it. He said it before he took office back in 2016.
Do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time.
But, sir, there is a tradition in this country. In fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
After he won in the Electoral College but lost the popular vote by more than 2.8 million votes, Donald Trump claimed immediately the election was rigged. Do you remember that? He tweeted, quote, "In addition to winning the Electoral College in a landslide, I won the popular vote. If you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally," that sort of seems like it's a disregard for facts and using facts to back up what you say, don't you think? And just a few months into his first term, again, we all lived through this, okay? Trump launched a commission using the power of the federal government to look into his ludicrous, baseless claims of voter fraud. And of course, they found nothing because they were just generated out of thin air. But that didn't stop him from doing the exact same thing in the run-up to the 2020 election. Months before Election Day, Trump was already planning the idea that there would be widespread fraud.
We have to win the election. We can't play games. Get out and vote. Do those beautiful absentee ballots, or just make sure your vote gets counted. Make sure, because the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that. It's the only way we're going to lose this election.
Okay, I want to make sure. He said that time and time again. The only way we lose is if it's rigged, right? So there's two options. Either I am elected or it's rigged. Either way, I win. That's what he set up. That's what he said time and time again. And then, once again, just as he did back in 2016, he refused to say he would accept the results if it were a defeat.
I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see. Look, Hillary Clinton asked me the same thing.
No, I asked you the same thing in the debate.
And you know what? She's the one that never accepted it.
I agree.
She never accepted her loss, and she looks like a fool.
Can you give a direct answer? You will accept the election?
I have to see. Look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no, and I didn't last time either.
So Pat Cipollone sitting in that room December 18th with this ragtag group of crazies, and he's like, whoa, how did I get here? This is so nuts. They don't seem to believe in facts. That's Donald Trump's position on the elections. Pretty goddamn consistent. From 2015 to 2016 to 2020, Donald Trump gets to run the country. He wins forever in every election because either he wins and gets more votes or because he doesn't and he stays in power anyway because it's rigged. It was obvious to anyone with a brain cell paying attention over the past several years. Pat. Time and time again, Trump said it out loud, publicly, on national television. And just because some people, like Pat Cipollone, who again defended the president, worked for the president, helped him get his agenda done, just because Pat Cipollone lied to himself and collaborated with this monstrous sociopath who almost ended American democracy, doesn't mean it was a hard thing to see. That does not mean it was bad advice that resulted in Donald Trump almost leading in person a fascist coup to sack the Capitol. A coup was the plan from the beginning. It was either victory or a coup. Those were the two options. Donald Trump plotted it more or less out in the open. And all the allegations of voter fraud, the ludicrous, viral conspiracy theories, the constitutional loopholes they tried to exploit, they were just pretexts for the coup. The coup was Donald Trump wins because that's what he believes Donald Trump is owed. There is something deeply enraging about watching all these supposedly serious and well-credentialed, smart, ethical people, the team normal people, the professionals, the adults in the room who did the right thing and counseled Donald Trump the right way, being so disturbed and aghast and bewildered and surprised that it turned out the way it did, that the alleged facts and the evidence were not really there. The president was trying to do something illegal with these weirdos. Of course he was. It's a good thing they realized it at the very end. But it's a bad thing it took them so darn long. The big question is if this pattern of bizarrely willful blindness to the obvious truth is right now repeating itself at the Department of Justice, where top officials were reportedly just jolted into discussing Donald Trump's conduct more openly following Cassidy Hutchinson's explosive testimony.